everybody, today I am in Brownsburg, Indiana, which is a suburb on the west side of Indianapolis, and I'm actually in a park called Arbuckle Acres Park, which is just off of the downtown area of Brownsburg. So, I mean, it has a downtown, it's not huge or anything, but this particular park is connected to it, which makes it pretty unique and very walkable and pedestrian friendly. So in this video, we're gonna talk about Brownsburg, Indiana, just a little bit, what it has to offer, and give you just some more details about it, so stay tuned. Hey everybody, I'm Jason Compton with the Compton Home Group. Welcome back to the channel. If this is your first time to the channel and you want to know everything there is to know a place like Brownsburg, Indiana, or any of the Indianapolis suburbs or Indianapolis in general, then make sure you hit the subscribe button. Also tap that little bell so you're notified every time we do a new video, each and every week. Now we get reach outs of all kinds from people all over the country and all over the Indy Metro with questions about places like Brownsburg. So if you have questions about Brownsburg or any of the Indianapolis suburbs or Indianapolis in general, then make sure you reach out any way you know how, because we've always got your back with those questions, and we've also got your back with your move to Indianapolis or any of the surrounding metro. So again, today I am in Brownsburg, Indiana, in Arbuckle Acres Park, which is a pretty large park, especially for the size of Brownsburg, Indiana. Now, Brownsburg, Indiana, on the west side of Indianapolis, it's a little bit north of Avon, Indiana, which is another really popular suburb on the west side, and just on the western, the true western edge of Indianapolis. And the location of Brownsburg on that west side is actually really advantageous and really popular for a lot of people. There's a couple different ways that you can access it from Indianapolis. You can come straight down I-74, so it's pretty cool that it has an interstate that runs not right through Brownsburg, but it attaches itself really kind of to the north side of it. And then you've got Crawfordsville Road, which runs off of 465 around Indianapolis and right here into Brownsburg. Now, Crawfordsville Road is also called US 136, but you know, the numbers are kind of generic and plain. So Crawfordsville Road is kind of what everybody uses around here. But those two roads connect it to Indianapolis very conveniently. So Brownsburg is a popular place not just because it's a nice suburb with a lot to offer, but it's really fairly simple to get into Indianapolis and especially the downtown area. The commute is going to be really, in most cases, well under 30 minutes just because of the proximity to it. Now, Brownsburg has been here a long time. It was actually settled in 1824 by a man named James Brown. Now, it's not the James Brown that you're thinking of, it's somebody completely different. But it didn't have the name Brownsburg initially. There was another settler named William Harris, and it was called Harrisburg for quite some time, and then there was a conflict with the name, and it went to Brownsburg a long time ago. So it's been here for a very long time, but a lot of suburbs and a lot of small towns have been around for roughly a couple hundred years now. But Brownsburg, of course, was very small, and around 1990, it had roughly 7,600 people here or so. And then 30 years later, here in 2020, when this video is being made, it's roughly 27,000 people, and it continues to grow. So a popular place with plenty to offer, and not just things to do necessarily, but as far as the quality of life is concerned. And I think that's why a lot of people kind of turn to Brownsburg for several reasons in that quality of life. So Brownsburg, with its location, makes it very popular, but Brownsburg is known around Indianapolis and honestly around the world, because if you think Indianapolis is the racing capital of the world, Brownsburg is kind of like its little sibling, its little brother or sister, because Brownsburg has Lucas Oil Raceway. Now, technically, Lucas Oil Raceway, which is on the east side of Brownsburg, isn't in Brownsburg. It actually has an Indianapolis address, but it's in Hendricks County. Most of Indianapolis is Marion County. It takes up pretty much that entire county. To the west of that, you have Hendricks County, and then there are several smaller suburbs in that county. You've got Plainfield to the south, you have Avon just north of that, and then you have Brownsburg here. So Lucas Oil Raceway is right there in between Brownsburg and Indianapolis, but given that it's in Hendricks County, people associate it with Brownsburg. Now, Lucas Oil Raceway is much more known for drag racing. They've got an oval strip there, they've got a road course there as well, but I don't believe that's really used anymore, but the oval strip certainly is. It's a little over half a mile or so. The drag strip is where the U.S. Nationals, the NHRA, the National Hot Rod Association, conducts the kind of the biggest drag race of the entire year. They've got a 4,400 foot drag strip out there, and happens over Labor Day weekend every year. Although there's racing out there many more days out of the year other than just over Labor Day weekend, but that's when the biggest races happen, kind of like the Indy 500 Memorial Day weekend in Indianapolis. Everybody knows here in Indianapolis the month of May is kind of a racing month. Everything builds and leads up to the Indianapolis 500. So around Labor Day, you've got a similar thing in Brownsburg. So there is some tourism in this particular suburb and on the west side of Indianapolis because of that. Very, very well known. Now, there are several things that I personally like about Brownsburg, and these are really some of the things that a lot of people like about Brownsburg. For one, the location. Definitely if you live on the west side of Indianapolis and you work on the west side of Indianapolis or downtown, then it could be a pretty good fit, and plus it's fairly convenient with Crawfordsville Road and I-74 connecting it. But the schools here are phenomenal, and I got one other thing about the schools that I really like associated with Brownsburg that we'll get into in here in just a minute. But also, the median home sale price here is roughly $235,000 or so. So it's still a suburb that, while popular, remains fairly inexpensive. You can of course spend a lot more money than that in Brownsburg if you want to, but it's a place where you can get a reasonably nice sized home. You can get 2,500, 3,500 square foot homes in here for under $300,000 with relative ease. It just depends on how much inventory, how many homes are actually for sale at any one time, but it's one of the places that you can actually still do that. If you go to some of the other suburbs around Indianapolis, the median home sale price is well north of $300,000, and it's just a lot more difficult to get into inexpensively. Also in Brownsburg, you can still find homes in that 1,400 to 1,500 square foot range under $200,000, and they're not in terrible areas. In fact, if you go through Brownsburg, it's pretty difficult to find a really bad or rough area per se, unless it's just exceptionally old. And this downtown area has a lot of places that are older and some older homes and a lot that need some work, but you're not going to find too many places that are incredibly unsafe in Brownsburg. So under $200,000 is certainly something that's doable. So Brownsburg definitely has grown a lot over the past 20 or 30 years or so. And with that, one of the things that I do like about it is the fact that it has plenty of park space. This Arbuckle Acres Park is roughly 60 to 70 acres or so, and then there's a nearby park a little bit south of here called Williams Park that's a little bit bigger. But between the two, you're talking close to 140 acres of park. And so, you know, for a town that's only 27,000 people, that's not too bad, just in those two parks. And they've got several other smaller parks in the area as well. But it's a place that is now getting on board, just like several other suburbs around Indianapolis, like Carmel and Fishers, with creating a little bit more of a heart to the town. So this Arbuckle Acres Park is connected right to downtown Brownsburg, and for years and years and years, it wasn't terribly significant. Quite old, you know, you got some historic buildings in that particular area, but not a lot for people to come and do. So over the past couple of years, that's changed, where they're really not just renovating the downtown, but creating a new downtown. So in the past couple of years, lots of construction has happened, where there's a lot of retail space, a lot of spots for restaurants to pop in, and over the next few years, we're probably going to see a whole lot more happen in downtown Brownsburg. So certainly a reason, one of the other reasons why I like this place, in that I think that their future vision is definitely something that they've got at the forefront of their mind, and trying to make the experience of living in Brownsburg, not that it was bad before, it's just that when you sometimes get into a suburb that's growing, and this one isn't growing incredibly fast, but it does have a fairly good growth rate, that it can just get spread out and become just very generic and plain. And for the people there, maybe wanting something to do, they want a cultural hub, they want a cultural heart, they have to go someplace else to get it. So creating that in the same town that they live in, that's really nice. So they've got their head on straight with that, and it'll be exciting to see what happens here over the next 5 to 10 years. So this is one of the other things that I really like about Brownsburg, and I've heard people who live in Brownsburg talk about this, but a lot of people don't necessarily realize it if they don't live in Brownsburg, and just how nice this particular feature is. So I'm actually on one of the school campuses, it's the junior high, but when I say the school campus, the schools in Brownsburg, there are a number. So there's one high school, very highly rated, less than 3,000 kids, so reasonably large, but not too large. And of course, when you've got 27,000 people or so in a town, you're gonna have to have more than one elementary school. But I say the campus, really almost all of the schools, with just a couple of little exceptions, they're all pretty centrally located. So they're all generally in the same area. So if you live in any one of these neighborhoods that surround me right now, you're probably going to be under 2 miles from the school that your kids attend from really kindergarten all the way through high school. So you may not be able to necessarily walk to all the schools every single year, although you could potentially live close enough to do that to some of the schools, but it's at least so incredibly close, which means you're going to live next to a lot of people that go to the same schools, a lot of the kids' friends, but you're not going to have to worry about traffic and a long, kind of aggravating drive each morning to get to school. It's really kind of a neat feature, and you get into, of course, Indianapolis, or if you get into some of the other suburbs around Indianapolis, especially some of the larger ones, it's not that way. They really have spread things out quite a bit, but Brownsburg, it's a lot more central. And it doesn't really matter where you live in Brownsburg, given that they are fairly centrally located. Even if you're on the outskirts of Brownsburg, you're really not that far from any one of the schools that your kids probably attend. So that's definitely a cool feature, having that. But the other thing that I like about Brownsburg, and actually for the most part anywhere on the northwest side of Indianapolis, is the fact that you're close to Eagle Creek Park. That is an incredible place. It has the Eagle Creek Reservoir there, which doesn't have any houses around it. It's 1,400 acres or so of just water, and then there's more than 3,000 acres of park there. So it's a huge park. In fact, it's one of the biggest municipal parks in the entire country, and it's definitely the biggest municipal city park in Indianapolis. And you're very, very close to that. You just take 56th Street straight on over, and you're there. And there's more than 10 miles of trails going through it, and not just trails, but there is an incredible amount to do there. So while it's not right in Brownsburg, it is so incredibly close. So that's one of the advantages, of course, of living here. So there you have it, a little bit more information about Brownsburg, Indiana, what you can expect, what it may be like to live here in Brownsburg. And if you have questions that are more specific to it, then don't hesitate to reach out. If you have questions about not just Brownsburg, but any of the Indianapolis Metro, reach out any way that you know how. And until the next one, we'll see you later.